Captain Lisa Morgan stood at the command deck of the mining vessel Terra's Edge, watching the endless black space through the main window. The asteroid field around them sparkled with mineral deposits that would keep Earth's industries running. For decades, her crew had been working the Omega-7 mining station for 6 months now, and they were getting ready to head home next week. Pete Williams, her chief engineer, walked up to her with a cup of coffee. "All systems running smooth, Captain. The final shipment should be ready by tomorrow morning." Lisa nodded and took a sip of her coffee. It tasted terrible, but after 6 months in space, everything tasted terrible. "Good work, Pete. I know everyone is ready to see their families again." The mining station was small but efficient. 12 crew members was all they needed to run the operation. Jake Morrison handled security, Kelly Adams took care of medical needs, and the other 8 crew members worked the mining equipment and processed the ore. They were a good team, and Lisa was proud of what they had accomplished. Alarms started screaming. Lisa ran to the main console where Danny Cooper was frantically checking the sensors. "What do we have?" "3 ships, Captain. They just dropped out of hyperspace about 10,000 kilometers away. They're not responding to our calls." Lisa felt her stomach drop. Ships this far out in the asteroid field meant trouble. Pirates. Maybe, or worse. Are they human ships? Danny shook his head. "No, Captain. The energy signatures are completely different. I've never seen anything like this." The ships moved closer. They were sleek and dark, with sharp edges that made them look like hunting knives cutting through space. Lisa had served in the Earth Defense Force before taking this job, and she knew Predator ships when she saw them. "Jake, get everyone to the armory. Pete, can you get the engines online?" Pete was already running toward the engine room. "Give me 5 minutes, Captain." The 5 minutes never came. The alien ships fired some kind of energy weapon that shut down all the station's power systems. The lights went out, the air recyclers stopped humming, and the artificial gravity failed. Lisa and her crew floated in the darkness of the command. Center dot emergency lighting kicked in a few seconds later, casting everything in a red glow. Lisa pulled herself to the communication console, but it was dead. The weapon systems were offline too. "Captain, we've got movement on the outer hull," Jake reported over the internal comm system. "Something's cutting through the main airlock." Lisa grabbed her sidearm and floated toward the airlock area. Her crew gathered around her, all of them armed but clearly scared. These were miners and engineers, not soldiers. But they were humans, and humans didn't give up without a fight. The airlock door burst open, and the aliens came through. They were tall, maybe 7 feet, with green scaly skin and yellow eyes that glowed in the emergency lighting. They moved on 2 legs like humans, but their arms were longer and ended in claws. They wore dark armor that seemed to absorb light, and they carried weapons that hummed with energy dot. The leader of the aliens spoke in perfect English. "Humans of the mining station, you have been selected for the Grand Hunt. You will be given basic survival equipment and released onto the asteroid surface. You have 3 hours before the hunt begins." Lisa stepped forward, her weapon trained on the alien leader. "Who are you? What do you want?" The alien's mouth opened, showing rows of sharp teeth. "I am Hunt Master Vex of the Kithara. We are hunters, and you are our prey. Your species has proven most entertaining in previous hunts. You fight well, you adapt quickly, and you refuse to surrender even when death is certain. This makes you perfect quarry. Previous hunts?" Lisa's blood ran cold. "You've done this before?" "Many times. Across 17 star systems, we have hunted your kind. Today, you join the ranks of those who have provided us with sport and honor." Jake stepped up beside Lisa. "We're not going anywhere with you." Hunt Master Vex made a sound that might have been laughter. "You misunderstand? This is not a request. You will participate in the hunt, or you will die here in this station. The choice is how you wish to face your death. With honor on the asteroid, surface, or cowering in this metal box. More Cathara warriors floated into the station. Lisa counted at least 20 of them, all armed and armored. Her crew had 12 people with mining tools and a few sidearms. The math was simple and brutal. What are the rules of this hunt? Lisa asked. Simple. You are released onto the asteroid with basic survival gear. You have 3 hours to prepare. Then we come for you. If you survive 7 days, you are free to go. But no human has ever survived the Grand Hunt. Pete floated over to Lisa and whispered, Captain, the asteroid surface is barely habitable. Toxic atmosphere, extreme temperature changes, and unstable gravity fields. Even with survival gear, we won't last long. Lisa looked at her crew. They were scared, but they were looking to her for leadership. She had trained for situations like this in the military, but she had never imagined facing alien hunters who treated humans like animals. We'll take your hunt, she said finally. Hunt Master Vex nodded approvingly. Excellent. You will be given environmental suits, basic food supplies, and simple tools. No weapons. No communication devices. No artificial shelter beyond what you can build with your hands. The Cathara began herding Lisa's crew toward the cargo bay where their shuttle waited. As they moved through the station, Lisa noticed the aliens examining the human equipment with interest. They were studying their prey, learning their capabilities and weaknesses. Kelly Adams, the medical officer, walked beside Lisa. Captain, what's our real chance of surviving this? Lisa thought about the 7 days they had to survive. The hostile environment, the alien hunters with superior technology, and the fact that no human had ever survived a grand hunt before. The odds were impossibly bad, but Lisa had learned something important during her military service. Humans were at their most dangerous when they had nothing left to lose. The Cathara thought they were hunting prey, but they were about to learn something about the human species that might surprise them. We're going to do more than survive, Kelly. We're going to show these aliens what happens when they hunt the wrong species. Day 5 of the hunt brought bad news. The Cathara had found their main hideout in the cave system. Lisa Morgan watched through a crack in the rocks as 3 alien hunters moved carefully through the tunnels below. Their glowing yellow eyes cut through the darkness like searchlights, and their energy weapons hummed with deadly power. They're getting smarter, Jake Morrison whispered over the radio. They're not rushing in like before. They're being careful. Lisa and her surviving crew had moved to a higher position in the asteroid's rocky surface. They had lost 2 people yesterday when the aliens found their secondary shelter. Bill Murphy and Carl Davis had died fighting, giving the others time to escape. Now 10 humans remained, and their supplies were running dangerously low. Pete Williams was still working on the quantum communicator in a hidden alcove 50 meters away. He had been at it for 2 days straight, surviving on water and energy bars while trying to rebuild the damaged machine. Lisa knew they were running out of time. The Cathara were closing in, and Pete needed more time to finish his work. Captain, Kelly Adams said quietly, I've been monitoring the alien radio traffic. They're frustrated. The hunt was supposed to end yesterday, but we're still alive. Their leader is bringing in more hunters. Lisa felt her stomach tighten. More hunters meant their chances of survival dropped to almost 0. But it also meant something else. The Cathara were treating this hunt differently than their previous ones. Humans were proving harder to kill than they expected. How many more? Lisa asked. At least 6 additional hunters arrived this morning. That makes 9 total hunting us now. Danny Cooper, who had been watching the main approach to their position, suddenly tensed. Movement. 2 hunters coming up the north slope. They'll be here in 10 minutes. Lisa made a quick decision. Jake, take 3 people and lead them away from Pete's position. Make noise, leave tracks, do whatever you have to do to draw them off. Kelly, you're with me. We're going to Pete. Jake nodded and selected 3 crew members. What about after we lead them away? Survive as long as you can. If Pete gets the message through, help might come. If not, at least we make these aliens work for their kill. Lisa watched Jake's team move away, deliberately leaving obvious signs of their passage. The Kithara took the bait and followed them deeper into the asteroid's maze of rocks and crevices. It bought Pete precious time, but Lisa knew Jake and his people were probably going to die. She and Kelly reached Pete's hiding spot just as he was making final adjustments to the communicator. The machine looked like it had been built from spare parts and hope. Wires and components were held together with tape and determination. How much longer? Lisa asked. Maybe 30 minutes to establish a connection. Another 10 minutes to transmit everything we've learned about the Kithara. 40 minutes they didn't have. Lisa could hear energy weapon fire in the distance where Jake was leading the hunters on a deadly chase. Soon, the aliens would realize they had been tricked and come back looking for the rest of the crew. Kelly, can you help Pete with the technical work? I'm a medical officer, not an engineer. You're also the smartest person I know. Pete needs another set of hands. Lisa left them working on the communicator and climbed to a position where she could watch for approaching hunters. The asteroid's surface stretched out below her, like a battlefield covered in shadows and sharp rocks. In the distance, she could see the flashes of energy weapons as Jake's team fought their running battle against the Kithara. 20 minutes later, Pete's voice crackled over the radio. Captain, I've got a connection to Earth Defense Command. The signal is weak, but it's holding. Send everything. All our intelligence on the Kithara, their hunting methods, their technology, their ship positions. Everything. Lisa watched the horizon while Pete transmitted their data to Earth. She knew this message would change everything. Earth's military would learn about the alien threat, about the systematic hunting of humans across 17 star systems, and about the technology needed to fight back, but the transmission was taking too long. Lisa spotted movement on the southern approach. 3 Kithara hunters were moving toward Pete's position. They had figured out the deception and were coming for the real prize. Pete, how much longer? 5 more minutes for the full data package. Lisa made her final decision as a starship captain. She grabbed her makeshift weapon, a piece of sharpened metal attached to a mining tool handle, and moved to intercept the approaching hunters. Kelly, stay with Pete. Make sure that transmission gets through no matter what happens to me. Lisa ran toward the 3 Kithara hunters, screaming at the top of her lungs. It wasn't a tactical decision. It was a human decision. She was going to buy Pete and Kelly the 5 minutes they needed, even if it cost her life. The first hunter turned his weapon toward her. Lisa threw herself sideways as the energy beam scorched the rock where she had been standing. She rolled behind a boulder and came up throwing rocks at the alien's head. The Kithara were confused by her aggressive attack. They expected humans to run and hide, not charge directly at superior firepower. Lisa used their hesitation to close the distance, swinging her improvised spear at the nearest hunter. The metal point penetrated the alien's armor, and green blood sprayed across the rocky ground. The hunter screamed in pain and anger, but Lisa was already moving toward the second alien. She didn't win the fight. 3 armed Kithara against 1 human with a sharp stick was never going to end well, but she bought Pete his 5 minutes. As the alien energy weapons finally brought her down, Lisa heard Pete's voice over the radio. Message transmitted successfully. Captain, Earth Defense Command received everything. Lisa smiled as she fell to the rocky ground. Hunt Master Vex appeared above her, his yellow eyes glowing with fury. "Impressive fighting, human. But you have only delayed your death by minutes." Lisa looked up at the alien hunter and spoke her final words. "You should have left us alone." High above the asteroid, Pete's quantum message raced toward Earth at faster than light speed. Admiral Roy Henderson at Earth Defense Command was about to receive intelligence that would change the course of human history. The Kithara had hunted their last human prey. Now it was Earth's turn to hunt. The asteroid surface was hell. Lisa Morgan and her 11 crew members stood in their environmental suits, watching the Kithara shuttle disappear into the darkness of space. The alien hunters had kept their word about the basic supplies. Each human had a suit with 72 hours of air, water for 3 days, and food bars that would last maybe 4 days if they were careful. The asteroid's gravity was weak and uneven. One step would feel normal. The next would send them floating 3 feet into the air. The surface was covered with sharp rocks and deep cracks that disappeared into blackness. Above them, the sky was filled with the glow of nearby stars, but no sun to warm them. 3 hours until they start hunting us, Jake Morrison said over the suit radio. We need to find shelter and make a plan. Lisa looked around at the hostile landscape. Her military training kicked in. First priority was shelter and defensible positions. Second was water and air supply. Third was weapons, even if they had to make them from rocks and metal scraps. Pete, Danny, take 2 others and scout for a place we can hide. Look for caves or deep cracks in the rock. Kelly, check everyone's suits and medical status. Jake, you're with me. We're going back to the landing zone to see what else we can find. The team split up. Lisa and Jake walked back to where the Kithara had dropped them off. The aliens had been careless, or maybe they didn't care. Scattered around the rocky ground were pieces of equipment from the mining station. Nothing big, but Lisa's eyes caught sight of things the hunters had missed. Look at this, Jake said, picking up a piece of metal tubing. This is from the water recycling system. Pete might be able to rig something with it. Lisa found a small toolkit that had fallen from someone's belt during the transfer. Inside were wire cutters, a plasma torch with about 10 minutes of charge, and some basic electronic components. Not much, but more than the Kithara had intended to give them. Jake discovered something even better. Hidden under a pile of rocks was a damaged communication device from the mining station. Captain, this might still work. If Pete can fix it, maybe we can call for help. Don't count on rescue, Lisa said. We're too far from any Earth ships. But information is a weapon. 2. If we can learn about these aliens, maybe we can use it against them. They gathered what they could carry and headed toward the caves Pete's team had found. The shelter was better than Lisa had hoped. A deep crack in the asteroid led to a network of natural tunnels. The rock provided protection from the extreme temperature changes on the surface, and the narrow passages would limit how many aliens could attack at once. Kelly Adams was waiting for them with her medical report. Everyone's suit is working fine, but we have problems. The air recyclers will start failing in about 60 hours. After that, we have maybe 12 hours of emergency oxygen. The water situation is worse. These suits weren't designed for extended survival. Pete Williams and his scouting team returned with better news. Captain, there's a section of the asteroid about 2 kilometers from here with a mining company. Set up a temporary shelter 6 months ago. It was supposed to be removed, but maybe they left something behind. Lisa gathered her crew in the deepest part of the cave. 12 people in environmental suits, huddled together in the red glow of their helmet lights. 6 months ago, they had been miners looking forward to going home. Now they were prey in an alien hunting game. Listen carefully, Lisa said. These Kithara think they're hunting animals. They expect us to run, hide, and die quietly. They've never faced humans who fight back as a team. She explained her plan. We're not just going to survive. We're going to learn everything we can about them. Their weapons, their tactics, their weaknesses. When rescue comes, and it will come eventually, Earth needs to know about this threat. Jake nodded. What about the hunting schedule? They said, 7 days. The way I see it, we have advantages they don't expect. We know this asteroid because we've been mining it for months. We know how to work together. And humans are better at adapting than they think. Over the next 2 days, Lisa's plan began to work. Pete managed to get the damaged communication device partially working. It couldn't send messages, but it could receive Kithara transmissions. The aliens were talking to each other during the hunt, and now the humans could listen. The information was disturbing. The Kithara had been hunting humans for years across multiple star systems. They had detailed files on human behavior, strengths, and weaknesses. But Lisa noticed something important in their communications. They always hunted the same way. Small groups, advanced technology, and the assumption that humans would panic and scatter. Kelly made another important discovery while treating minor injuries from moving through the caves. She found traces of Kithara blood on a rock where one of the aliens had scraped against the cave entrance. The blood sample showed something interesting when she tested it with her medical scanner. Captain, their blood chemistry is completely different from ours. The energy weapons they use seem to be tuned to human biology. But that means they might not work as well on other species. Jake had been studying the Kithara movement patterns from their hidden position. They hunt in teams of 3, and they always approach from high ground. They use some kind of scanning technology, but it seems to have trouble with the mineral deposits in these rocks. On the 3rd day, Lisa made a decision that surprised her crew. Instead of continuing to hide, she led a raid on the temporary mining shelter Pete had found. It was dangerous because the Kithara were actively hunting, but they needed supplies. Raid was successful. The mining company had left behind air recycling equipment, water purification tablets, and most importantly, industrial tools that could be turned into weapons. But the real prize was something Pete found in the communications. Equipment. Captain, the quantum communicator is damaged but not destroyed. If I can get it working, we might be able to send a message to Earth Defense Command. Lisa looked at the broken machine. It represented hope, but also enormous risk. Using it would definitely alert the Kithara to their location. But if they could get a warning to Earth about the alien hunters, maybe other humans wouldn't face the same fate. How long do you need? Give me 2 days, and I can probably get one message through. Lisa made the hardest decision of her life. Do it, but we're not just sending a call for help. We're sending everything we've learned about these aliens. Their technology, their hunting methods, their weaknesses. As Pete began working on the communicator, Lisa realized something had changed about her crew. They weren't acting like prey anymore. They were acting like soldiers preparing for war. The Kithara had made a mistake when they chose humans for their grand hunt. They had awakened something they didn't understand. Lisa Morgan opened her eyes to the sound of human voices. She was lying in a medical bed aboard a ship, and the walls around her were painted with Earth Defense Force colors. For a moment, she thought she was dreaming. The last thing she remembered was fighting 3 Kithara hunters on the asteroid while Pete transmitted their intelligence to Earth. Captain Morgan, you're awake, said a voice beside her bed. She turned her head to see a man in a medical uniform. I'm Dr. Robert Hayes. You've been unconscious for 3 days. Where am I? Lisa's voice was rough and weak. You're aboard the rescue ship Terra Nova, Captain Steve. Garcia pulled you and Petty Officer Morrison off that asteroid yesterday. You were barely alive, but you made it. Lisa tried to sit up, but pain shot through her chest and left arm. The Kithara energy weapons had done serious damage, but apparently not enough to kill her. Jake is alive? Yes, and so is Engineer Williams and Medical Officer Adams. They hid in the cave system after you bought them time to finish the transmission. 4 survivors out of 12 crew members. 4 survivors. Lisa felt the weight of command settle. On her shoulders again? 8 good people had died because aliens thought hunting humans was entertaining. But their deaths had not been meaningless. Doctor, what happened after we sent the message? Dr. Hayes smiled grimly. Captain, you might want to see this for yourself. He helped Lisa into a wheelchair and took her to the ship's observation deck. Through the large windows, Lisa could see the Kithara homeworld burning in the distance. Massive human warships filled the space around the planet, their weapons systematically destroying every military installation on the surface. Admiral Henderson declared total war 8 months ago, Dr. Hayes explained. Every Kithara hunting facility across 17 star systems has been destroyed. Their military fleet is gone. Their colonies are abandoned. What you're looking at is the end of their civilization. Lisa stared at the burning planet. She had expected Earth to send help, maybe rescue the survivors, and warn other colonies about the threat. She had not expected humanity to wage a war of complete extinction against the Kithara. Captain Steve Garcia found her on the observation deck an hour later. He was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. Captain Morgan, I'm Steve Garcia. I want you to know that your message saved thousands of human lives. The intelligence you provided allowed us to defeat the Kithara completely. How many of them are left? Not many. Maybe a few thousand scattered across the outer rim of the galaxy. Their homeworld will be uninhabitable for the next 100 years. Their government surrendered last week, but Admiral Henderson refused to accept it. Lisa felt a chill that had nothing to do with her injuries. He refused their surrender? The Admiral's position was simple. They hunted our people for sport across multiple star systems. They treated human beings like animals. There could be no negotiation, no mercy, no second chances. Steve pulled up a datapad and showed Lisa the official war records. Over 2,000 confirmed human deaths from Kithara hunting operations. Entire families killed for entertainment. Civilians tortured before being released as prey. The evidence was overwhelming and brutal. Dr. Susan Lee documented everything, Steve continued. War crimes on a scale that demanded complete justice. The Kithara chose to hunt humans. Now they face the consequences of that choice. Lisa looked out at the burning planet again. Part of her felt satisfaction at seeing the aliens who had killed her crew face their own destruction. But another part of her wondered if humanity had become something dangerous in its quest for justice. What happens now? You're being promoted to Admiral and given command of the new Human Defense Initiative. Your job will be to make sure nothing like this ever happens again. Admiral Lisa Morgan spent the next 6 months visiting the former Kithara territories. What she found was systematic destruction on a scale that shocked even her. Human forces had not simply defeated the aliens. They had erased their civilization from existence. On the former Kithara colony world of Vex Prime, she met with the few surviving aliens who had surrendered to human forces. They were kept in detention facilities, not as prisoners of war, but as witnesses to what happened when a species chose to hunt humans. You were warned, she told the Kithara survivors. Your people chose to treat humans as prey. Now you understand what humans do to predators. The surviving Kithara leader, a former huntmaster named Dex, looked at her with eyes that had lost their predatory glow. We did not know humans could wage war like this. We thought you were just clever animals. That was your mistake. Humans are not prey animals. We're apex predators who learn to work together. When you hunt one of us, you hunt all of us. Lisa left the detention facility with a clear understanding of what humanity had become. The war against the Kithara had changed them. Earth was no longer content simply defend its colonies and hope hostile aliens would leave them alone. Admiral Roy Henderson met with Lisa on the flagship Vengeance as the human fleet prepared to return to Earth. The galaxy is watching us. Now, Admiral Morgan. Every alien species knows what happened to the Kithara. They know what happens when humans are threatened. Are we the good guys anymore, Roy? Roy looked out at the dead Kithara homeworld. We're the survivors, Lisa. And we're the protectors of human life everywhere in the galaxy. The Kithara taught us an important lesson about the universe. It's full of predators who see humans as weak prey. And now they know better. Now they know that when you hunt humans, sometimes the prey becomes the hunter. And humans are very good at hunting. Lisa Morgan returned to Earth as a hero, but she carried the weight of what humanity had done to win the war. The Kithara were functionally extinct, their civilization destroyed, their survivors scattered to the far edges of space, carrying a warning to every alien species they met. The message was simple and clear. Humans were no longer prey. They were the apex predators of the galaxy, and any species that threatened human life would face complete and total destruction. The stars belonged to humanity now, and they would defend that claim with the same ruthless efficiency they had learned from their enemies. The age of humans being hunted was over. The age of humans doing the hunting had begun. Earth's children were safe among the stars, protected by the knowledge that their species would never again allow alien predators to treat them as prey. The price of hunting humans was extinction, and every alien in the galaxy now knew it. Commander Jake Morrison stepped through the massive doors of the Galactic Council chamber. The room was bigger than any building on Earth. Crystal walls stretched up so high he could not see the ceiling. Strange lights danced inside the crystal, like trapped lightning. He had been to this place many times before, but today felt different. Today felt Final Dot, the air tasted metallic on his tongue. Around him, creatures from 100 different worlds sat in floating chairs that moved without sound. Some had too many eyes. Others had no eyes at all. A few looked almost human until you noticed the extra arms or the skin that changed colors as they breathed. Morrison walked to the center of the room where a small platform waited for him. His boots made sharp sounds on the smooth floor. Each step echoed in the vast space. Behind him walked Captain Lisa Brooks and Dr. Amy Carter. They were the only other humans allowed inside. Today, Dot, the Zephyrian ambassador, floated down from his high seat. His body looked like twisted metal and flowing water mixed together. When he spoke, a machine next to him turned his words into sounds humans could understand. Commander Morrison of the species called human, the translator said in a voice that had no emotion. You stand before this council to hear our judgment. Morrison kept his face calm, even though his heart was beating fast. He had known this day would come ever since the incident on Kepler 442b. The humans had tried to help a dying race of beings who looked like giant insects. Their sun was killing them with dangerous light. Their children were being born sick and weak. They had asked Earth for help. The council called it breaking the sacred accords. The humans called it being decent. The charges against your species are clear, the Zephyrian continued. You have violated the most important law of our civilization. You interfered with the natural development of another race. You gave them technology they had not earned. You changed their path without permission from this council. Around the room, other ambassadors made sounds of agreement. The Valtherian delegate clicked his claws against his chair. His people looked like giant crabs with too much intelligence in their black eyes. They had been pushing for this moment for years. They had never liked humans joining the galactic community. Morrison wanted to speak. He wanted to explain that the insect people of Kepler 442b had been dying. Their planet was becoming a wasteland. In 10 more years, their entire civilization would have been gone forever. But he knew the Council did not care about explanations. They cared about rules. The sacred accords exist for good reason, said the Altarian ambassador. Her voice was like music, but her words were cold. For millions of years, they have kept peace between the species. They have prevented wars that could destroy entire systems. No one species can decide the fate of another. This is the foundation of our civilization. Dr. Carter stepped forward. She was small compared to most of the aliens in the room, but her voice was strong. With respect, Ambassador, we did not decide their fate. We simply gave them a choice. Without our help, they had no choice at all. The Altarian's silver skin rippled with what might have been anger. You gave them weapons technology disguised as medical equipment. You taught them to build ships that could leave their world. You changed them from a planet-bound species to a space-traveling one in less than 50 years. This is the definition of interference. Captain Brooks clenched her hands into fists. She had been on Kepler 442b when the first human ships arrived. She had seen the insect children dying in hospitals that could not help them. She had watched their scientists desperately trying to find answers their technology could not provide. The humans had not forced help on them. The insects had begged for it, but begging did not matter to the Council. Rules mattered. Laws mattered. The fact that an entire species was saved did not matter at all. The voting began without ceremony. Each ambassador spoke their decision into a device that recorded their choice. Morrison counted the votes in his head, even though he knew the outcome. Already, 47 species voted for exile. 3 voted against. The rest abstained, which meant they agreed with the majority, but did not want to say so out loud. When the last vote was recorded, the Zephyrian ambassador rose from his floating chair. The crystal walls around the room began to pulse with red light. This was the color of banishment in galactic law. By the authority of this council, the species known as human is hereby exiled from galactic civilization. All trade agreements are terminated immediately. All communication channels will be closed. No member species may provide aid, technology, or sanctuary to humans. Any violation of this exile will result in the same punishment for the violating species. The words hit Morrison like physical blows. He had expected this, but hearing it made real changed everything. Earth would be alone in the galaxy. No more alien technology to help solve problems. No more trade routes to bring resources from distant worlds. No more allies to call on in times of trouble. But as he looked around the room at the aliens who had just condemned his species, Morrison felt something unexpected. He felt free. For decades, humans had tried to fit into galactic civilization. They had followed rules they did not understand. They had asked permission for things that seemed obvious. They had been the youngest species in a community that valued age above everything else. Now they did not have to ask permission anymore. Morrison straightened his shoulders and looked directly at the Zephyrian ambassador. When he spoke, his voice carried clearly through the vast chamber. "You think exile will destroy us," he said. "You think cutting us off from your civilization will make us disappear quietly. You are wrong. Humans do not disappear quietly. We adapt. We overcome. We find ways to survive that no one expects." He turned to face the entire council. Every alien eye in the room was focused on him. "You have just made the biggest mistake in galactic history. You have given humanity something we have never had before. You have given us complete freedom to become whatever we choose to become. And you will not like what we choose." The red lights in the crystal walls pulsed faster. Security beings moved toward the human delegation. It was time to leave. As Morrison walked toward the exit, he heard the Valtharian ambassador speak to his aide in their clicking language. Morrison had learned enough of their speech to understand the words. Finally, the crab-like being said, "The annoying children are gone." Morrison smiled as he reached the door. The aliens thought they had gotten rid of a problem. Instead, they had created something far more dangerous than they could imagine. They had created humans with nothing left to lose.